Alright, I'm a couple minutes early today. That's okay. That's alright. I just, let's go. I'm ready to go. I'm having a rough day. So, I'm up, I'm ready. Time to get rock and rolling. I hope people are having an okay day and that, you've been able to, get the things done that you're trying to get done and so on and so forth. So, I'm working on a few different things right now, but I slightly changed where my computer is on my desk. Just moved it over a tiny bit, just so that I could have a little more space. One of the things I'm going to talk about today is mixed media applications and all the different things that you can use. So, we'll get into some of that. Today's page is a mixed media piece on a brayer off paper from Jelly Plating, and the suggestion was from a book D.D. William read from, prompt book, write about different kinds of centaurs, horse, deer, giraffe, etc. from D.D. From the book. So there we go. Hi Linda, welcome aboard. Hi Tim. Looking forward to seeing Tim's zine. It's exciting. And yours as well, Linda, but yeah, I've only seen the preview for the one so far, so I got a stack of books to show you as well. Anyways, this page was fun. I drew it in ballpoint pen, a white pencil, and a Jelly Roll white pen. So that's it on the surface. And so all the different little bits of business that you get from the value, complexity, and strange little things is because of on top of the brayered off painted surface of the paper is some masking tape and some tissue paper that's affixed to the surface, and so it leads to some interesting discoloration, some interesting shifting of value throughout the piece, and so all of the red was already there. The only things that were added to it was black and white. So, a fun piece to do. That's it's in the stack, number 192 for the year. So we're getting stuff done. Now I got some things to show you on my desk. Oh, hey, what's this? It's the new book. Yeah, it's just there. Thanks everybody who's bought a copy. You can find it on Amazon. I got some things to show you, some different examples of things. Oftentimes when people hear comic books, they think of one of two things. They either think of children's books, or they think of superhero books. That's unfortunately how the Western market looks at it, and there's so much more you can do with it. Like this is a book I bought for my grandkids. It's a Dark Crystal book, but it's a Where's Waldo type thing, or a look and see, where you try to match items in that are on the side, and you try to find them within the overall composition. Like, find Fizzgig. There's Fizzgig. So, up at the top. So it's fun. The kids have a good time playing with this, and that's always nice, and gives them opportunities to exercise their mind and imagination. But this is also something that's sort of applying that application of illustration to it. Hi Marsh, welcome aboard. This is, I showed this recently, I thought I'd talk about it a little bit more. Riley Rossmo's interpretation of superhero type things is so removed from traditional fare that it's almost cartoonish, highly stylized cartooning where everybody's disproportionate, like slightly stretched figures, and yet at the same time he's got these exaggerated characters and action scenes. Look at that crazy leg kick, crazy boots on them. Anyways, I like what he does with his line work and with his storytelling, because when action is implemented, it's really done so with a fine sense of control. Not only does he have the big epic fight start, but then he does all these wonderful little quick action shots along the bottom in order to take us through the course of the conflict between these characters. And it's a 2-page spread that entirely sums up the entire action sequence. And it does so in an interesting and unique way. And so I like that a lot. I like the stylistic approach to the work. A lot of people hate this book. A lot of people that were followers of this title were grossly dissatisfied with this style of art. And it's too bad. It's a real departure from what it normally is, and I kind of like that. Some of the character designs are sort of dumb, but there you go. Paul Azaceta, or Azakit, I don't know how this is pronounced, so apologies to Paul, but Graveyard of Empires is honestly a piece set in the Afghani conflict, and it's a depiction of a CIA operative trying to figure out how to deal with things during the Afghan this theoretical worldview of the Afghan war. But while this is going on, the dead start animating, so it becomes a zombie book. But it's kind of a little bit more than a zombie story, because it's actually all about ideologies and the colonial Westerners coming over and interfering and imposing their will over in this part of the world, and how they're messing with things that they do not understand in their conflict against the Taliban, but while that's all going on, there's a great deal of crazy metaphysical things that are happening, hence the zombieism. But it's interesting. I really like his style of storytelling. I really do. I mean, he's got a really interesting approach to line and approach to characterization. Like, there's this kind of always this heavy inked line. Like, there's no real pen work from what I can tell. It's all brush, and a lot of people don't do that these days. A lot of people tend to stick with the pens and the fine lines, and just I like this guy's style. It's an interesting thing, but here's this story and trying to talk about faith and belief and ideology and sense of it's all tribalism stuff, right? But while this thing that's going on is beyond the normal ken, and so Graveyard of Empires, without wanting to give away a story, it is a horror book, by the way. And so this is another different aspect of comics that most people really don't think about. ISBN for this is 978-1607-067399. And next up, Colin Wilson, brilliant storyteller. Ed Brubaker, brilliant writer. This is a superhero book. But the thing about the superhero book is that this is actually a spy book, and a character wakes up on the run. Terrible things are about to happen, but our whole story really starts right here in this bar scene, where our guy is reflecting on the state of things around him, and his friend comes up to him and says, hey, where you been? We're supposed to have met, and you called me about something, and I did? Yeah, you said it was utmost secrecy, and what's it about? And he's like, I did? But what you find out is that there's a deep cover op that is behind enemy lines with the bad guys, and so they are trying to figure out how to get him out. And so rather than it being your typical Western superhero fare, this is actually more about covert spy work, similar to something like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, or I'm trying to think of something that's not James Bond, that a more 3 3 Days of the Condor or something like that. You know what I mean? Where the character hasn't got a clue what's really going on, and is trying to figure out what's happening around them. And it's a really fantastic take. It's the best take ever for these specific characters in any of the titles that they've been in, because they stream from one end of being this to your standard superhero guys, pew, 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 laser pistols and people flying around them and punching through walls, and right up to just downright dumb, no sense of internal logic or any of the storytelling and writing. But this is phenomenal, and I really wish that there was a possibility of more work like this. I mean, look at this. This 2-page spread is, and pardon me if there's any language in here, but this is more Chandler-esque. This is more like a crime novella from the 30s or something than it is a superhero thing. So yeah, Point Blank, and this is it. That's the whole enchilada. It was a 4-issue series. The collected edition 61941239555, and I love this book. It's a great book. This is yet another iteration of storytelling done through sequential means, and this is Northlanders. This Brian Wood wrote this. David Gianfelice is the artist, and this is Vikings. It's just straightforward about a guy who returns to his homeland, and the Bosporus of Constantinople, AD 980. That's where it starts. And so it's about him having gone through being part of the Crusades, and he wants to come home. And the challenge of him coming home is that he's not. His people are actually Norwegian, and many of them are converts to early Christianity in the area, and it's really compelling stuff. It's all about the politics of the day. His uncle has taken over after his father has passed, but the artwork and the storytelling, very European, and I really, really enjoy the approach to storytelling, and the artwork is just fantastic. But there's some interesting ideas, like he's been left to die in this tundra land, and or he's on the run in the tundra land at this point, and so they're just all hunting him to try to kill him, and they're going to leave him to die out there. And so here he is, in the middle of nowhere with no provisions other than a shield to save himself. It's because it's a political intrigue book. This series went on for a number of volumes, and right up to the sacking of Paris, which was a real thing that happened. And just great storytelling. Look at the density of that sucker, and that's only volume 1. Northlanders, it was called. First one is 978-1401-219185. So I got 2 more things to show you. This is Peter O'Donnell and Jim Holdaway, and this is Modesty Blaze. Now this is the weekly newspaper strips that are all collected, and this is a kind of storytelling that we just don't have anymore, and I find that really disappointing, because it's just something about the way that the investment of the art in order to depict this as a real thing. And when we're referring back to this, the spy stories, Modesty Blaze is a female private detective, has her own agency. She was a spy, but an incredibly indomitable woman who is the protagonist, and all of the masculine characters that are in this book either work for her or she's after them, and it's great. There's all this constant, she's just a woman, how does she know, and nonsense, and every time she shows them. But the artwork is just beautiful. I mean, scenes of here's the mountains and here's the village in front of it, you know, and these nighttime scenes are seen. These I think this is in a cave. Just phenomenal ink work, and just really effective and pretty realistic storytelling. There she is, beating people up with her judo, you know. And if you're ever looking for something that shows really strong female protagonist, check out old Modesty Blaze stories. 978-18-40-238-426. It's very similar to some of the other stuff that I've shown here by Alex Williamson and guys like that. So this is Shadows Fall. This is written by John Ray Nyberg, and it's illustrated by John Van Fleet. Now, I love John Van Fleet's work. I have his sketchbook, and I had the opportunity to meet him, and he is really genuine. But look at the art that he does here. I'm going to pull in on this, and the reason I saved this for last is there's no collected edition of it as far as I know. But Shadows Fall, A Severed Life in 6 Acts. And you know, this some years ago, this guy lost his soul, and since then, he's kind of like a black spot in the world, and it's people trying to eliminate him, but you know, you really don't want to get close to this character. But the use of light and heavy duty contrast. Marsh says, curious, have you ever read Slow Jams? No, I haven't, Marsh. I'll have to look that up. Slow Jams, I'll write it down over here. Slow Jams. Yeah, I'll look it up. But his work is fantastic. It's heavily photo referenced, right? But, you know, when you see the scope of the pages together, it's just this fantastic storytelling, which takes some of the examples that I've shown you, like the Modesty Blaze, and you know, the Point Blank, and it just, with that sort of realistic bent, but it just pushes it even farther into this heavy duty ink application, colored inks, black inks, you know, spattering, airbrush, just great stuff. But there's the shadow part of him that's just the black spot that makes a mess of the world around him. I love his work. Have for years. He's done a number of other things that I've shown, of like Batman and books and stuff like that, but this is easily, by far and away, my favorite thing that John Van Fleet has done. And I gotta tell you, books like this come around, and you know, if you get a chance to see them, it's worth the time to take. Like, look at this. He falls off this dock into the water, trying to end it, and the black spot that is his soul won't let him, and pulls him back to the surface. You know, and just really compelling stuff, and all about the duality of nature. But Shadows Fall is what this series was called, by Vertigo, and 6-issue series. I'm sorry, and yeah, phenomenal work. But John Van Fleet is the artist that illustrated it. I mean, just look at that cover alone, right? I know it's in plastic, but just look at that cover. Oh, that's something else. Another thing I was going to talk about is somebody asked, Marsh says, this looks really great. How's the story? Story's phenomenal. Shadows Fall is an incredible story. And then Susanna says, hello, people in another species. Somebody asked me in a message yesterday, how do I choose the things that I choose to do the pages each day? And what I thought I would show is this. These trays, this is all the stuff that I just have kicking around. I'm going to move this to show you. I'm dropping them on the floor now. This is all nearby me here in the studio, right, just sitting on my desk. These are pens and pencils I have kicking around within reach, immediately within reach. And then here's some more containers of more tools in there, and tapes and inks. I don't know if you can even see the inks. There's inks, and then there's acrylic and matte medium. There's just, I keep all this stuff nearby so that if and I've got all kinds of Post-its and things like that as well, and I've got a just immediate stack beside me of just different papers to access with whatever colors and patterns, and just tear-offs of other things that can be recycled into works. And the reason I have all this stuff beside me, all these different tools, is so if I feel compelled to go left or to go right whenever I'm working, there's a smorgasbord of mark-making tools right next door to me, so that, you know, and then waters and spritzers and brushes, and I spend 10 minutes just pulling stuff over and sticking it in front of you for a second. But the reason I have all this stuff available like this is so that if I feel so compelled as to turn left or to turn right, and whatever my storytelling is that I'm doing today, and today I feel like I want to use this medium or I want to use that medium, I've got that stuff accessible to me. So that's, I just reach over and grab some things is the basic gist of it. And you know, like these like different colored Fidenisuke pens instead of just the black ones, and different colored ink pens and fountain pens and pencils and an old Derwent. And you know, the whole idea is to just, I shouldn't have to think too much. I shouldn't have to think too hard about what will I work in today, and you know, just be able to grab something and there I go. So that tends to be the thinking behind all of that jazz that you see on the table there. So if you have a space that you can dedicate, they are watching, there we go. If you have a space that you can just carve out, just a couple of feet of space for you to work on, honestly, for a long time, and the reason I've got this board here isn't just so that I can have a, you know, tilt surface. It's because for the longest time as the kids were growing up, I had 2 feet of space is where I could put whatever I was using to work on stuff, whether it's, you know, large paintings or whatever that I would have affixed to a wall to work on for exhibitions and stuff. And this small table with whatever I could pile on it, so that I had access to all these things, and I'd end up having a board or a sketchbook just leaning on the table. And so just because I had so much stuff on there, I couldn't actually put anything down on the table. So that worked for me, and so it's only in the last couple of years really that I've been able to have the amount of space I have in my studio today. So before that, it really was a case of, you know, limited amount of space. Most space in my life that I've ever had a studio until the last 2 years was maybe 8 by 8, 9 by 9 feet total. I had a studio downtown London. It was 6 feet by 4. So it's not like, yeah. Marsh says, one of my goals is to use up all of my art supplies. I don't have a lot of hope to fulfill that goal, to be honest. That is a goal that if I set for myself, I might as well just give up on anything else. just because I try to use all the different things I have and all the different markers, and you see me pull out all these different tools all the time. But in all honesty, yeah, I mean, that's a challenging thing. I know that there's people that like to get all of the different, oh, I like that, I'm going to buy some of that to use, and that's great if you use them, and because many people don't. I mean, at the end of the day, it's we all know that it's not about they who have the most toys wins, but at the same time, it's really important that you give yourself the opportunity to try things out and to experiment with what you do have. So, because what's the point of having it otherwise? But using up materials, using up art supplies, that's a tricky thing. But the best way to go about having access to it is to have it available. And if you don't have that space to put some stuff in front of you someplace, or to have some stuff accessible at some point, even having your material controlled and contained is good. I'm going to turn the camera around for a sec. So this is the opposing wall in my studio, and you can see all of these drawers and bins, and that's right, those are action figures of the Electric Mayhem at the top, and Pinky and the Brain hanging in a cage from the ceiling. But all of those different tools that are on those two shelves there, and then down below in all these cabinets as well, that's all stuff that that's additional mark making tools I have. And a lot of the things that I just showed you are little bits and bobs that I've pulled out of those, so that I can try to incorporate some of those elements into what I'm doing. So just allow yourself that. Allow yourself the availability to utilize those things. I'm going to show you something really crazy for a second. So I've got this sheet of paper here. It's 11 by 17 paper. And so I've got these guys in Toronto, and these were lovely. Okay, these were a lovely Winsor & Newton marker series that they came out with. Very expensive, but they were clearing them out at this art supply store in the basement in the sale pile for 50 cents a marker. And so I ended up buying what you see here, maybe a couple more that were not very, like, just completely brutalized. But I bought these without the expectation that I was going to be able to use this in any kind of refined way. So I'm going to try something with these today, and that you might think is a little bit bonkers, but that's how I do. So we're going to try something with these today that you might not necessarily think of as working. But before I get into that and pick out whatever from the book, what a deal for Winsor & Newton. Well, they're discontinued, and these ones are brutalized. Like, these have been really beat up. There's a good tip, and, well, this one has two good tips. What? But a lot of them have really smashed tips. So, oh, those who never bought something believing it will be used, launch the first stone. But that's true, right? Okay, so so one more time, I wanted to show you something here. So this is the postcard challenge that I'm going to be starting on June 1st, and it's if you've got jelly plating material, if you've got jelly plated surfaces, all I did was cut them all into 4x6 squares, or rectangles, I'm so sorry, and I have this postcard thing from P&M Artist Studio that's painted on the back. It doesn't show up very well in a lot of them, but that's how the cookie rumbles. So I'm saying it today. And so I'm going to be using these over the course of July to tell a 31 panel story. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to experiment with these a little bit, but I can't quite play with them yet. You have no idea how constraining I find that right now. I shouldn't have got them prepared in advance like I did, but I just wanted to make sure that it's available for me to jump on it. And if you're interested in some of the options and some of the potentials about ways that these can be used, and you're thinking about taking this challenge on, check out yesterday's stream where I talk about different ways that you can use these in a modular kind of approach to do different sized panels, even though you're forced into this contrived frame, right? And using gutters like white lines in between dividing part of the panel. All kinds of different approaches. So I'm thinking, just to let you know, I'm just thinking intensely about what am I going to do here? And there's equal votes now for there's 3 votes both ways. Should each day for July be a different suggestion, or should the entire 31 days be one story suggestion? So yeah, if you haven't voted on that, feel free to throw a vote. Okay, so here's my idea for this. Now I've got these different markers. Some of them are dark, okay? Some of them are fairly dark. And some of them are, you know, so they're odd. It's going to be odd combinations of color in the first place. But see, here's the tip is broken away from the base. So, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use these. See, there's a nice light blue. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use these, and we're going to monkey up this surface just because we can. And so this is up at the top. I'm putting down examples of the colors. This guy is going to be too opaque. Yeah, see, he's already too dark there. So I'm going to set him aside just for a moment. And there's a white in these that it's I mean, the only thing it would be good for is on a black piece of paper, or a colored piece of paper. But even still, it's just a stain, so that it's not going to actually retain itself as a white. And then the grays are, what color are you? Yeah, that's just a gray. We're going to stay away from those for now. I think, yeah, okay. I haven't used this one yet. But you can see how the color is destabilizing there, so that they're not great, but that's okay. That's okay. See that what I mean by some of the tips are just brutalized? So this is what we got, folks, and we're going to mess this surface up, just to mess it up, just because we're rebels, we're loners. That's why they call us PW. So get some of this stuff out of the way. Now I've got no design or plan, and I haven't chosen what today's one-page story is going to be on. But all I want to do is take these pigments and see, they're dying, they're not able to hold on. So I've tried, the only reason they have any life in them at all is because I took a, I'm sorry, what is it called? You know, the alcohol soap there that got so popular during the virus, and I tried to reconstitute the tips, but you can see how smashed some of these tips are, which is why they were 50 cents. But one man's trash. Okay, so we're going to try some things here. Oh, see, that's very pretty. It's a very pretty blue, pretty. So I'm just applying these values down on the paper, and then I have to make use of this as a page. So there's no rhyme or reason, there's no plan of where I'm putting marks down. I'm just kind of looking at it like I'm from the Hoffman School and I'm pushing full of color. See, that's a sexy, sexy green blue. So the way that we look at surfaces and the way that we look at areas in order for us to work on, sometimes, let's be honest, we're just too precious about things. And all that does is detract us from being able to just get to work on stuff. There's some people find it necessary to implement a lot of rules and a lot of structure in how to go about doing things, and that's fine for them. But it doesn't. See, look at this. This is supposed to be a potter's pink, but half of the tip is just a gray, just because this is kind of how it's clunking up here. So let's see if we can get some more of that out by just using the side of it. So I haven't used these a lot because the tips are kind of rough, and you can see how they're not very, they haven't got very strong life in them. But for how much I paid for them, it's worth it. So I'm going to try to unify the color as well by having a singular color that I'm going to go over top of everything with, and seeing if that opens up any avenues. We got, is this the red? Yeah. See, look at how bad that one is. Somebody really didn't like this red pen. Red pen, take that. But I like the opportunity that it presents when you're not overly worried about something on your paper. I can't. This is so beat up. I can't even get the lid back on it. Let's see if I can try to figure out. Oh, see, it's never gonna work again. Now, the fine point tips on all these are grand, but this chisel tip is just smoked on this one. So, did I use you? I think I did. That's alright. And we'll come back in with one more. Let's try this. This green across, and then we'll just unify it all together. So, it just seems completely random and haphazard and bonkers, but what opportunity that this presents for us is to just take a leap, you know, and just going over here to get some ink. The ink over here, is it right behind where I was sitting? Yeah, it's only right behind where I was sitting. Yep, completely right in front of me. So this sort of allows me to take a leap and to try some different things and to make some different marks and to see if it presents me some new story ideas and some new possibilities. So I've got this container here, which is just different jars of ink. This is acrylic. Okay, so I picked out an ink there that's got the dirtiest water on planet Earth. That's all right. That's okay. We're all right. We'll all get through this together. So I'm just going to use this and throw it across the entire surface to just squash all those colors down. And then I have to work on this now. This is the surface that this one page is going to be done on. It doesn't make an awful lot of sense, I'm sure, but that's the whole point, is that you can use things that you might not normally consider working with and get something happening with them. So the whole idea of using all the stuff that's on your shelf, here's how you can do that. It's just throw it down in different combinations. And there's some interesting things that happen when you do this, is that you'll find color combinations you might not have normally considered. You'll find material combinations that are going to present interesting opportunities and possibly interesting challenges. And the bottom line, you might end up using stuff that you just can't figure out how to use and how to approach to the work otherwise. So there we go. So there's using this unifying color, flattens down all these values, these different tones that we used, and gives these guys a little bit of purpose that they may not have had otherwise. And then we can work on top of this with, you know, whatever mark making tools we want to use. If we want to use the same markers or pick out something, because I've got a number of different gray tones of these as well. And so once we get this guy to dry in a second, that's what we'll do, is we'll come at the surface with these gray tones. I often use my paper towel like this because it's got this cool pattern in it. I don't know if you can see that in the on the computer, but it puts these little dots on everything, and I likes me some dots. Okay, hopefully that'll expedite the process of trying to get it to dry down a little bit. And the paper's going to warp, but that's what happens. So there's our surface to work on today. Yay! Okay, so today's suggestion I did was from that prompt about different kinds of centaurs. Typically silly approach to a story page. So there's 3 word prompts that came out of that as well. Blank. Oh no, blank was thrown out. Doodle, roots, and a peony. So let's see what we can do with doodling a peony, I guess, and seeing where that takes us. Yeah. Now the other question I have about these is, and I forget to read these at times, it's a toner, this is a toner gray. It's light fast, but it doesn't say it's water fast. So it's just a pigment marker. So we'll see what use we can get out of this. And let's start putting down, let's start drawing to next page. Actually, you know what, I'm not going to do the prompts. Just because it's from the same source. So, oh, I'm still working on that. Jeff Gold, Conundrum I did. No, Jasper's got 3 suggested here. Rafters, tree, and snail. I'll save that because I've been doing a lot of 3-word prompts. So, do a comic about a drive-through funeral service. That's Marsh. Let's see what else. Kids Rescue. I gotta go back. There's still a whole bunch at the start that I haven't done. I haven't really got anything that's finding too inspiring at the moment. So has anybody got any ideas about whether or not I should do the postcard challenge as one suggestion for the 31 days, or if I should try to incorporate elements of the daily comic as well? Frank is doing karaoke. Did that, didn't check that one off. We'll just use a ink tip drawing medium. pretty open-ended, I guess. Yeah, so we've got the Grosvenor British family. Is that checked off? Sasquatches, just the word Sasquatches. I gotta take better notes sometimes. Okay, well, did that. I didn't check that off. I gotta sign the checks. Check that. I'm finding a bunch of things. I'm sorry, I got caught up in finding a bunch of things in the book that I haven't checked off. So that's what's slowing me up here. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. So I'm checking away here on things and making sure that the ones that I've done, yeah. So, pardon me, gang. I know that's not the most exciting thing to watch there. I'm also letting this dry for a second, so that's okay. The one joke I've been making since day one of doing the one-page stories is that there's one suggestion that I do not feel capable of doing, and that is haunted bow tie. Whoever wears it kills. I just think that's the silliest thing It's one of my own ideas. It's not a suggestion. Okay, so press the red button, Howard. It's seldom that I get a chance to do just a piece of dialogue as a suggestion. So that's what we're doing today. Press the red button, Howard. That's, I don't know what that's in reference to. But Marguerite is the that suggestion comes from Marguerite. So Marguerite, if you're here, buckle up. Here we go. Okay, so we've got our surface laid down. When you look at the original colors along the top and then what it ended up looking like, it's kind of fun. So yeah, so there we are. What I'll do is I'll just get right into drawing out our character. Now I'm just going to test out. Yeah, this will do. This has got a good little value to it. Or maybe I should go a little darker. Or no, you're drying out. You're dead. You're dead. And out of this world. There we go. Just there. That one should work. Okay, so so let's start with right into it now. So we've got this crazy kaleidoscopic pile of value from those markers, and again, my usual look at this sort of thing is that what's on the paper originally really doesn't matter for when we start working on it. So I'm going to play a little bit here with some different tools as we go along, so that I want to try to find some lines and see how different combinations of things work. Let's start here. I'm going to use my paper towel so I don't try to mess up my paper too much. So this is a red fountain pen that I'm using right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some tenement buildings and like a New York street or something like that, or some sort of Western world, North American city street, back when we built things with character and functionality at the same time. So I'm drawing these buildings in, and my intention with this first panel is to have a little piece of dialogue hopping out from one of the windows. Let's just go with your gut. And press the red button, Howard. It'll say, coming from one of the buildings, and then we can step inside to the place, and Howard says, I don't want to press the button, or whatever, wherever we're going to go next. But I just felt like drawing a street scene. So go with your gut and start drawing a street scene. Don't worry about it too much. Don't overthink it. Just follow your momentary inspiration. Follow your muse. So I'm going to come back in a second after I've just thrown down all these basic shapes and lines, and I'll start adding these different grays to this and see if we can pull out the street to look a little more, give it a little more depth, a little more value. Yeah, rulers are good for this. But I'm being all Mr. Loosey-Goosey today. So don't look, Janet. Don't look. Janet M. Young gets upset at people if they don't use rulers. But the reason that I'm drawing with the red is because I kind of like the idea of these guidelines flying around in a drawing, right? I don't know about you, but see how it's blending out. I'm going to zoom in for this. So as I'm drawing this, the red fountain pen ink is just merging right into our background, which is kind of fun, and it gives me a little bit of a challenge to have to see what this is going to do to the drawing surface overall. So I'm just shaking up the tops of the buildings a little bit, giving them slightly different heights, so that I can just a little more character, something a little more interesting for the building. And then we'll get tightening it up in a second. So here's our first panel, coming together. Press the red button, Howard. It's going to be said coming out of one of the windows. In what context that is and what that means, I don't know yet. I haven't planned this in advance or anything. I got a fun piece of dialogue I get to start working with, and there's nothing wrong with any suggestions that I get. It's literally a case of I tend to flip through it, something hits me, and that's what I start working on. There's no plan in advance other than, hey, I need to. I thought I'd show all kinds of different mark making tools, and despite showing you all these different random mark making tools that sit on my desk, I went over and got a bin of stuff that I wasn't using, just because, and so I kind of, actually in a really weird way, sort of illustrated my own point about allow yourself to that was not purposeful, allow yourself to be open to trying all the different things that you have. So I'm not being overly precious here. I'm just, there we go. Here's our street scene coming together, and let's put a tree in here somewhere. We'll build this up a little bit more. I'm just roughing it in with the red fountain. Oops, I'm sorry, I did that off panel. I'm just roughing in this tree shape at the top here with this red fountain pen. So, Uli. I love these fountain pens that Uli makes. They're really nice. Okay, so I've got this toner gray, it's called, and I'm going to start trying to drop in some little values here and there, little hits of gray. And what I'm going to do, what my plan is I'm not over focused on anything really compositionally. I'm just going to put down some values here and there and come back in with the next one and continue to do so. And we'll see what that lets us put together for our overall scene. I'm actually going to objectively try to have straighter lines than I did in my sketch as well. For the kids back home. What else have I got? So this is a lighter gray. Is it? Maybe it isn't. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so same thing here. Let's see how these work in relation. Actually, it looks like a darker gray, doesn't it? Yeah, not much difference when you put it down on in the background. What was that third one? Let's see if you work. Yeah, that's a very dark one. I like that. So I'm just trying to bring some form, some volume to the street scene. There we go. So this is my darkest, middle, and the lightest. There we go. See if this white guy is going to do anything for us. We'll see. Maybe. Holy camole, he works in this regard. Look at that. I tend not to draw with alcohol pens very often because I don't like the smell. There's no big reason other than that. They stinky. They stinky pans. You want to use a stinky pen? That's the ones you want to use. You go ahead. I don't like the stinky pen. They take a minute to dry. I didn't realize that. That's all right. That's all right. We're learning. We're learning. Okay. Let's see, what else have I got? Who are you? Oh, pretty gray. There we are. So this is a Artist Loft water base dual tip marker. So we'll see what this lets us do. I'm also going to use the almighty Posca. So I'm just trying to put some interesting marks in to move color and value throughout. The tint, the bit shade. I'll throw some shade at this. Making it up as we go, right? It's just an opening panel, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. We're just throwing some things together to make some interesting color combinations to put together this street. So, you know, so I got that cool little, is it this guy? Yeah, that's too cool for school blue. What's he gonna do if we get him back in the mix? Well, that's kind of fun. Now let's see if anything happens when I apply white to it. There we go. Yeah. That's bluish. Hello, said Jimmy. Hello, Jimmy. Hello, Jimmy. Jimmy, have you thought about giraffes and what they really must be thinking as they're leaning up so high and eating leaves off those tall branches? Do you think they're big up on themselves, or do you think they're just a typical kind of tall horse? Something I'm thinking about, Jimmy, that's all. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to do was to apply some of that, to take this heavier gray, which is this. This is how I hold my pens, by the way, so I can remember which one's what. And let's, wrong tip. So let's put some, some leaves like a tree here. Hey, make like a tree and leave. There we go. And then we'll come back in a minute with some white and pick and choose out of there. You go over here. All right, so let's go back in. Throw in some of these winders here. I know that might seem a little counterintuitive to smudge out a value as you're laying it down, but I don't want it to be too opaque, too heavily contrasty, right? You're having a good day today, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, Manual Music is Jim's music channel he's doing. I'm really getting a kick out of it. Check it out if you get a moment. Trying to figure out where I put the lid. Okay, so yeah. So I got this paper towel here so I can clear off the tip if I need to as we go. Some of the fun colors that are underneath there, when I put that white in there, they're being picked up by the white and pulled through. See, that's how you're getting these neat. I think these pinks might be coming from underneath. I might be wrong. I might be crazy. Just might be the loon. Oh my goodness. And the kids just sent me 100,000 photographs. Okay, so there's our little streetscape coming together. Oh, I know what it is. It's the red from the fountain pen. That's what's really coming and kicking through here. So I'm just going to lighten up the sky a little bit in here. It's kind of fun using these crazy goofy markers that they're lovely, but they're a little bit smudgy. Okay, so what have I got left? Here we are. So I'm just going to pick and poke through the tree with the white. And then we'll come through with that blue in a second. Susanna says that looks good. Thank you, Susanna. That's nice of you. And then where's that? Where did I put that blue? Throw it back over there. Okay. What did I use? I used an orange acrylic ink. I got this water-based marker. I'll throw some of that in there as well. Ooh, pretty yellow. Yeah, that's fun. And I have to go back and tighten up the lines up from that tree. Alright, that's our first panel, playing with all these different mark-making pieces of madness. Let me move that down. There we go. So there's our street coming together. And I think I'm going to pull back. There we go. So there's our street coming together on the mixed media surface that we made out of these Winsor Newton markers. And then we went over it with this acrylic Bombay orange, and yeah, I like what's happening in there. So I've got a blue pencil that I'm going to throw into the mix here. Maybe I'll get a brown pencil as well. Let's see what you can do. Ooh, you're very pretty. And so I'm just tightening up the line along the top of the buildings with this pencil. Just sharpening up just a little bit. Trying to find the right combination of mark making tool in order to tighten up some of our marks. So that one is where, let's see, I'll pull in on that so you can see what I saw there. Okay, so here, as I'm doing these windows now, and I'm taking this pencil, it's crisping these windows up quite nice. And I'll come back in after this and throw some more white highlights over top. So that's half the fun, is don't worry about the exchanges along the way, you know, the marks that you put down. That's not right, that doesn't look perfect. It's just trust yourself to keep going and search for things along the way. Find those happy accidents, and that's how you're gonna assemble your story, you know? Some people plot it all out. I don't. Some people, you know, hold fast and tight to rules. I don't. So let's pull that up. Can you see? Not really. So I'm going to focus a little better now. Ish. So, yeah. And then let's take this. I believe it was you. It had to be you. There we go. So randomly last night, it was not you. Randomly last night, I was watching Robert Altman's Popeye from the 1980s, and which is this mind bender of a film. I think it's the best Robin Williams film, but you know, that's just me. It's so good, and I forgot about how good it is. You know, I really enjoyed that. Had it playing here in the studio. Just little pokes of deep value in there, just little emphasis points. So now I'm just a little white line across the roofs and doing the same thing that I just did with that dark gray, and just doing little dabs of white, little emphasis points, and then on to the next. Gonna have to figure out what Howard looks like. Maybe just base him on Howard Hughes, you know? Why not? Trying to, my thing is buzzing over here. Why are you buzzing, robot? Oh, you know, just buzzing. So that's ideally going to clean up our windows now. Okay, well, let's move inside. So the idea of panel number 1 is press the red button, Howard. So yeah, this is kind of a fun way to come at it by having this crazy assembly of different marker application here from the Winsor Newton, these ones. Then I went over top with that, and now we've got our first panel pulled out of it. So, you know, even if it's just a white piece of paper, you can still have a go at it, turn it into something a little bit more. All right, let's find a Howard. Let's do a Howard here. What's yeah, okay, I don't know. I'm just gonna do this. So where is the light gray? Yeah, you'll do. I'm just testing it out over here. Oh, that's a crazy dark gray. Okay, I was looking for you. I gotta keep these marked better. Alright, there you are. So, yeah, let's just have them. I'm just going to put some, I don't know where I'm going with things right now. Again, we're just following our instinct and stuff. So this is me putting in a Howard. I no idea where I'm going with this, but just using the Winsor Newton to throw down some value here, and then we'll start pulling it out. Where's that white? There it is. Let that orange underneath, maybe, instead of worrying too much about a flush tone or something like that, we'll let that orange peek through. See what that does for us. I don't know, just going with it, right? Sometimes you just gotta go with it. It's a different kind of marker, really. Let's see. So let's give him, looking for different, oh, the red, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. All right, so, and then we'll start to define some of Howard's features a little more clearly. I'll pop in there, move that down so you can see. I'm working in the wet here, so it's being a little tricky if I hit a really wet spot with the markers. The fountain pen just picks it up and it gums up the line. There we go. Am I missing anything? Nope, just making sure. All right. Where's the fine point tip? Fine point tip. I think Posca is going to work better. So here's Howard coming together. Looking a little stressed. Oops, I moved off panel. I apologize. Off panel, out of frame. You know what I mean. So here's Howard. This is the deeper gray. Oh, I forgot to draw this. So I'm putting a sweater vest and a t-shirt on Howard here. Don't know why. Just doing that. Ugh. Tricky two-sided. It's kind of fun to use like a random smattering of mark making tools, you know. It's a lot of play. It's a lot of just seeing how things come together, building stuff up as you go along. You never know. You never know what combinations are going to present what opportunities, right? So there's Howard and his vest. Clean this. Come in with the post gun a second and tighten up that white. Now where was that blue? I like this blue as some insert value. Because it just turns into these really pretty greens. And green's my favorite color. Okay, so here we are so far. I've got, you know what, oh yeah, let's use you. This is this cool cream colored Posca that I picked up recently. All right, now that should make the white sleeves punch out a little more now. It's the old sweater vest over t-shirt combo. Howard is a hipster. Off the tip of my Posca pen. There we go. Ooh, look at that. I don't know how well you can see the little pokes of white, but they're really popping out now. Just what I was hoping for. Just sort of building it up, right? That's better. Okay, so there's Howard. Yeah. So we got a good start. What time are we at? I gotta keep paying attention to the time. Yeah, I'm gonna come back in now that some of this is dry it a little bit, and I'm going to do some more hits on the windows and stuff. Just to give these a little more life, you know? Okay, yeah, that's feeling better. Alright, so here's our first two panels of our page so far. So press the red button, Howard. There's the start of it. So by doing the crazy marker application with the ink over top of it, some of the fun things that are coming through now is these little crazy textural bits of business that ideally are, we're going to see some of this peeking through in our backgrounds and things like that. And rather than worrying too much about this differentiation in color, I'm not overly concerned to try to flatten that down as a value, because part of the fun of working mixed media is keeping the availability of that surface to peek through. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I think I'll take a little bit of white ink, and I'm going to try, this is an acrylic ink from Winsor Newton, and 150 mark making whatnots, and who knows, is there a brush relatively close to anywhere. So I'm going to put some ink on here. Just there we go. Just to pepper up that sky. Don't want it to be so dark and foreboding. You got that crazy dark sky, and people are going to think it has some sort of significance, and it doesn't. It's just the sky. Anyhow, little lightning. That's a little lightning of it up there. That's fun in the sun. Okay, so the lid back on this before I spill it all over myself, which has happened. So here's our start. Here's the start to our page. Today's suggestion is press the red button, Howard. So this is what we're working through for our page. So we'll see how this goes. But again, just try whatever combinations of materials that you have and see what you can come up with, and allow yourself to layer those over top of each other and to keep applying them. And who knows what comes through with that. Okay, I'm gonna sneak in some red into his beard and the like here. See if that gives us some interesting tone. Just play and have some fun and experiment and try things you might not have otherwise considered, and who knows what'll come together. But if you're looking for one way to stay original, and you're one of these people that are doom and glooming and worrying about the AI robots overtaking the world, figure out things, combination of materials and applications of not just your style, but the mark making tools that you're randomly choosing to use. And there's no way any algorithms can track that because it's just too haphazard, right? So allow yourself that. I'm not, I know a lot of people are up in arms about AI, and I'm not. I don't. I'm just having fun. And at the end of the day, have some fun, make some art. But okay, that's about it for me today. I gotta get a couple more things done around the house. But thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out. And I hope you found some of those books I showed you earlier interesting. And consider, what I'm talking about with applying these different mark making tools. You ever read 1001 Nights, a good story concept? Are you talking about the space-based one, or are you talking about the Arabian Nights one, Susanna? You're beginning to think I invented it. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look that up. There's a couple of different ones. There's the Arabian Nights one. Yeah, I read those when I was a kid. Those are fun. But that was a while ago. Yeah, all that old classic material. I read all the classics I could as a kid, and unfortunately, kids aren't reading those these days because somebody thinks that their feelings matter over creativity. So Arabian Nights, wonderful writing. Yeah, that's fun, this cream color. Okay, so another life, Runsman. Maybe I wrote it a lifetime ago. I don't know. I seem to have flashbacks of being trapped in a cave forever, surrounded by yellow stuff. Anyways, okay, that's it for me today. Thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out. I'll get this finished and posted up. And if you've got a one-page story idea or 3-word prompts or a sentence, this is from a sentence. Press the red button, Howard, and shout them at me. Put them in the comments of any of my social medias, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and we'll turn it into a one-page story. Okay, that's it. Go have some fun, make some things, and I'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST. Bye for now.